Hello everyone. I am so excited to be here right now. This is sort of going to be my very first knitting podcast. I hope to do more in the future. I made some notes where I'm going to start and where I'm going to go through, because many of you know that I can get very long-winded, and so I want to actually get through an entire video and hit all the points that I want to hit, and not keep you here too long. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was I have a lot of questions on some of my previous videos about where, or not where, but like when I started knitting. So I started knitting about 16 years ago in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was just because of the cold and, you know, the wanting to wear hand knits. I wanted to knit a pair of socks. That was the first thing I ever wanted to knit. Well, I had to learn to knit first. And so I signed up for a beginner's knitting class at Michael's. And I never made it to the class because in the time that I had to wait for the class, I had already gone on YouTube and taught myself how to knit. So I had paid $35 for this class that I never went to. I found that in Anchorage, we have several yarn stores now, but back then, the only yarn store, sorry, my watch is doing things. The only yarn store that was in Anchorage when I lived there was Far North Yarn Company. And so I walked into Far North Yarn Company one day, and this was after I had taught myself to knit and after I had knit a few things. One of the very first things that I knit, I actually brought out here to show you, was this garter stitch cowl, a garter stitch Mobius cowl. And this thing has seen better days. It is super pilly and it is just well worn. And I made this sort of kilt pin with these ribbons on it and a little jewel. I made these to go on my cowl when I wear it. And so I've been wearing this cowl literally every season, every fall and winter season. I've been wearing this cowl for about 15 or 16 years. And I love knitting cowls. I love knitting small scarves. I have a few shawls that I've knit, but this cowl I reach for every single year. I love knitting them, and I love, you know, but I gift a lot of the cowls that I knit. But I always reach for this, even though it's the most simple garter stitch thing in the world. I wrap it around my neck twice, and I've got my pretty little kilt pin there, and I wear it every year, all year long. So I guess I just have this sort of loyalty to it. The other things when I was in Anchorage that I knit, or my first real knits, I had my daughter, and I started knitting little things like cotton bibs for her. All of my daughters have been really big spitter uppers and droolers, and I thought, you know, what cuter little thing to put on their body than an adorable little hand knit bib. So I knit a lot of these. This is just one. I keep them, I still have all of them in my big huge Rubbermaid tub that's actually the baby box. I've got baby stuff in there from back when my son was little, and he is 24. He'll be 20, oh my God, he'll be 24 in a week. Oh my gosh, I'm old. So the next thing I kind of taught myself how to knit was this adorable little aviator's hat. And I don't know what yarn I used. I know I got this at Far North Yarn Company many moons ago, but I don't remember what it was. But I knit this for my now 17-year-old, and Was it for her? No, I'm sorry. Fast forward. I knit this for my now 12-year-old. And then, so she wore it and my 10-year-old wore it. And so I still have it. The next thing, as I was going to Far North Yarn Company and I was building up a relationship with them, I started going to Friday night knit nights. And Friday night knit nights were very important to me. Every Friday night, and this was like for a very long time. I mean, I'm talking even if we were in the middle of a whiteout. So after you've lived in Alaska for a while, like there will be whiteouts, but you still gotta go get groceries, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. You learn to drive in whiteouts. Whiteouts did not stop me from going to Friday night knit night. So I told the ladies there that I wanted to learn to knit socks, and one of the ladies said that the best way to learn to knit socks was to do baby socks. And since I had a baby, I knit her this adorable little sock. And I just have the one right now because the other one has a hole in it. She wore these socks for a really long time, and they're in a really great wool that's held up great. It's just my dog got to one of the socks when Eiley, my 12-year-old, was wearing these. So this was my very first sock adventure, and I still have it. Sorry about the noise. The next thing I knit during that time was I knit my very first pair of adult socks for myself, and these are it. This was in a colorway called Ron. It was, I don't remember the name of the yarn company or anything like that, but it was a line of knits or yarn that they released that was Harry Potter inspired. And I am a huge Harry Potter nerd. I've been a Harry Potter nerd since the beginning, like I think in 1998. That's when I started reading Harry Potter, like right when it came out. And so I've been a Potter nerd ever since. But these are in the colorway called Ron, and this was my first like introduction to like sort of textured socks. So this is a very, very basic garter rib kind of situation going on here, and I just really enjoyed knitting these. I've been wearing these. I wear these every fall and winter season. They have held up really well. I do believe it may be time to retire them. Maybe not. Maybe I can mend them. I have a spot on the bottom of one of the socks where at some point in time I stepped on something, and then I washed and dried my sock and it became solidified there, and now whenever I wear the socks I can feel it underneath my sock. I can feel it on my foot, and so I don't wear these anymore. I would like to say that I will cut that spot out and then sort of darn the bottom of it, but I know I won't. I would just keep these forever though, because they were the first adult socks I ever knit, and I wore them for so long. So then I started getting into knitting articles of clothing other than accessories and socks when we moved to Colorado. And so I knit my first actual sweater, which was a baby sweater for my then 2-year-old. And I know you're probably thinking, that does not look big enough for a 2-year-old. I know. This got washed and dried and felted about 6 months after I spent all that time knitting it, and it was so frustrating. So, but it's still stretchy and you can still see the stitches, and it was still very cold in Colorado Springs, and so I still had my daughter wear this. So she wore it until she grew out of it. I put it away in the baby box. My next daughter wore it until she grew out of it, and then the same with the third. It has seen better days. It could probably do with a nice shave, but in reality, I'm not gonna knit, no one else is gonna wear this, so I will probably just leave it the way it is. The other one I knit in another wool that's really pretty, and it ended up getting felted too. So I kind of learned that knitting baby things in wool was probably not for me. Yeah. I do have a finished object to show you. I actually re-knit this pattern again. This super old Knitting Pure and Simple pattern. I dug it out of my yarn box. I have this binder that has 16 years worth of knitting patterns in it that I have purchased and printed out and bought and saved and everything. And I knit my granddaughter one of these sweaters, which I will show you shortly. So at Friday Night Knitting Club, that was my first introduction to Ravelry, which, as you know, Ravelry is its own beast. I went down the deep end. It was Facebook. When I was in Alaska, Facebook had just become a thing. Before that, it was MySpace, and Facebook had become a thing, and I still wasn't really able to connect with other knitters online yet until Ravelry came along, and so that was a lot of fun for me. I would go on Ravelry, but I wasn't like very active on there. I literally go on Ravelry for patterns. I don't post pictures of my knits. I don't think I have anything in my knitting queue. It's just for me to go on there and find patterns. So moving on to the next thing on my list, let me show you some finished objects that I have. As you can see, I'm wearing one right now. I made a video that I wanted to do a knit along on this sweater, the basic pullover sweater by Cleo May Knits, and I did the whole knit along, and I had edited it into a 1 hour and 30-minute episode. I was so proud of it. Like, I started from start to finish, to the raglan increases, to, I mean, everything. I did it all because I wanted to knit it with you guys. I had B-roll of me knitting, and it was a great video. And I lost it. It's gone. I don't know how I deleted it, but it ended up being deleted from my editing app that I use. And after I had finished editing to save space on my phone, I deleted the videos. So it ended up getting deleted from my edited part of the app, and I couldn't get it back. I can't get it back. So I knit the sweater, and I brought you along with me, but I don't have it anymore, so I apologize. But I love this sweater from Cleo May Smith. I started out knitting a large, and somewhere along the line I ended up following the instructions for the extra large. So when I first finished knitting it, it was very squishy and comfy, and the sleeves were up a little bit higher, so they were 3/4 sleeves, and it was kind of cropped, and I really liked how it had turned out. This is the most colorful item that I now own. Way outside my comfort zone. When I was at the yarn store, St. Simons, the stitchery at St. Simons in St. Simons, Georgia, I went in there with my daughter, and we were looking around at yarns, and I let her choose 2 yarns for a hat project that she wanted to knit, which I will show you in a few minutes. And I fell in love with this Malbrigo, Arroyos, and Diana. It just looked so beautiful on the hank, and I was like, oh, it's so autumnal. I love the colors. The last thing that I had ever knitted with a variegated yarn was socks, and then before that it was just these sweaters that I had knitted for my daughters. And so I wasn't really familiar with the technique where you have to change balls of yarn while you're knitting to keep large color blocks from forming. So I had already separated for the sleeves, and I had like a good 2 inches of my body done, and we started spooky season. We try to watch a spooky movie together every day during the month of October, or at least a couple times a week. So we were in there, and we were watching Halloween Town 2 Calabar's Revenge. And I was just knitting, 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 completely forgot to change my balls of yarn. And then before you knew it, I had like 4 inches of a section of my body where it was like, it was more red and more pink than the rest of my sweater. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So I ended up ripping it all back and then going back to where I was, and then going back to alternating the balls of yarn as I was knitting. And so I finished it. It's beautiful. I love it. This to me is like the most comfy sweatshirt I've ever owned. I love it. I love the sleeves. Like, I don't like long sleeves. I prefer bracelet length or 3/4 sleeves. So whenever I'm wearing a sweater or a cardigan or something, I always push my sleeves up. Always. Even long sleeve shirts, I push my sleeves up. So I knew that I didn't want my sleeves to be like way far down. So I feel like it just turned out beautifully and I love it. I was a little scared when I blocked it because it grew so huge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is gonna be insane. I'm never gonna wear it because it's too big. And as it dried, and when you lay something out flat and wet, it looks humongous. And then when you put it on your body, it drapes and it lays in such a way that it works. And so this actually just really worked for me. You can see there's an eyelet pattern on the raglan increases there. And so I'm just very proud of my little sweater. Sorry. Very proud of my little sweater, and I enjoyed knitting it. So thank you for making this super basic pullover pattern, Cleo May. I really enjoyed knitting it, and I had made an entire video of me knitting it and had given many, many much accolades to you, and it's gone. So that's that. This is how much yarn I have left of the Malabrigo that I used for this project. I have no clue what I'm gonna do with it. None. I don't know. Okay, so that's that. So the next finished project that I have to show you is what you've already seen. I knit the Cumulus tee by Petite Knit, and I did a knit along for that, which every time someone leaves a nice comment on my videos for that knit along, it just makes my heart so happy. I'm so happy that so many of you knit along with me. I'm happy that I was able to help you maybe with some techniques you weren't familiar with, and so that just makes my heart happy. So I knit the size medium in my Cumulus tee, and it took me a long time to knit this. It took me like almost 2 months to knit it, mainly because my only knitting time was on my drive to work and then on my drive home. I used to work at Anamoya, which is in Orange Park, Florida, and I live in Kingsland, Georgia. So on my commute to work and my commute home, I worked on it a lot more than I worked on it in the house, because you know, as a mom, there's always stuff to do. So I used this Sanders Garn cotton. It is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. I do not like this yarn. This yarn was a pain in the neck to knit with. It split so badly. It split all the time, and there's no give to it, which is, I guess, normal with cotton yarns. But I found that I have worn my t-shirt that I knit, that I worked so hard to knit. I have worn this a total of 4 times, and it already has wear on it. Like, it looks like something that I knit ages ago. Can you see that? It looks like it was knit and then worn and worn and worn, and I have only worn this full time, or 4 times. So it's the stress points of under the arms and the body that have the most wear. I just feel like for as much as I paid for the yarn, and Sanda's garn, that particular cotton, I think it's called Tin Line, I'm not sure, wasn't that expensive, but it was still a purchase I had to think about. And it makes me feel really bad that I spent so long knitting that garment, and I've worn it 4 times and it already looks like something that I've had for like a year or more. So I will not be knitting with that yarn again. I will probably never knit another cotton t-shirt again either. Probably not. Okay, so I wanted to show you 3 other finished objects really quickly. Along the same vein of this sweater that I knit for my daughters, that all my daughters wore, I knit another one for my granddaughter, whose favorite color is yellow. So I knit her one in a size 6, and I did not make the mistake of knitting it in wool. I knit it in, I know everyone's gonna be like, ew, acrylic, oh gross, no real knitter knits in acrylic. I knit this in acrylic, and it was really, really soft, and I enjoyed knitting it, and I am glad that I used acrylic, because that means that my daughter-in-law can put this in the washing machine and the dryer. And it's just soft and squishy, and it was fun to knit with, and I enjoyed it, and I think it looks really great. And this is from that same pattern from Knitting Pure and Simple that I got in Anchorage all those years ago. And it has served me well, and I knew that I wanted my granddaughter to have the same sweater pattern that I knit for my girls. And so I am excited this week to send that out to her, and I know she will love it. Another finished object I have is, so when I went to the yarn store to get the yarn for my sweater, I let my 10-year-old daughter pick out some yarn because she wanted to knit herself a striped beanie. All of my daughters knit. My 17-year-old is currently working on a pair of socks for her boyfriend in Ireland for Christmas, and my 10-year-old was knitting her beanie, and my 12-year-old was knitting a pair of fingerless gloves for her. The 2 younger ones had given up. They just didn't have the patience to stick with their project, no matter how much I encouraged them. My 10-year-old said it best when she said, I think I will leave this up to the expert. And I was like, oh gee, thanks. So she chose these nice wool yarns from Barocco. And so it was in a deep green color, like a forest green color, and then a lighter green color. And I didn't use a pattern for this. It's just a basic hat. I knit the band, or I had her knit the ribbing on size 3 needles, and then the rest of the hat was knit on size 6s, 6 or 7s. I blocked it, which is why it's flat, and it turned out great. She really likes it. My 12-year-old really wanted a pair of dark gray fingerless mitts, so I looked for a pattern that she liked, but we couldn't really find one, so I just kind of drafted this pattern, and it works. It's fitting over my watch, but she likes them, and so now I am finishing up the second one. And so my girls know how to knit, they just don't have the patience to see a project through yet. Hopefully that will change in the future. I will make it change in the future. So I have one other item that well, two, I guess. Two other whips, but I think they really only count as one whip. I'm knitting 2 pairs of socks. This is a pattern, I think it's called a bee in the bonnet. And I just really wanted, oh no, I dropped a stitch. I'm knitting them obviously on double points. And it's because I'm knitting them on ones and I just don't have a size 1 40-inch circular needle. And I really didn't want to buy another needle. And I happened to have 2 pairs or 2 packs or 2 size 1s. So I decided to just knit them on double points. And there's something sweet and I don't know, there's just something sweet about knitting them on these little teeny #1 double point needles. I think these are like the 4 inches. I wish that I had longer, like 6-inch size ones, because sometimes I worry that I'm gonna knock my stitches off and as I'm turning the project in my hand, but I haven't done that yet. And yeah, so I'm enjoying knitting these. You can't really see the pattern yet, but it's got eyelets in it and kind of this interesting little thing going on here. Once I'm done with these, I will block them and then you will probably be able to see the pattern much better. Am I in love with the pattern? No. Has nothing to do with working the pattern or the yarn. I'm using Patton's Croy in flax, and this is just sock yarn that I had in my stash from back when I used to have a stash. I really don't have much of a stash anymore. I've knit through it over the years and I only buy yarn now very, very infrequently. Like I bought the yarn to make this pullover, and I take that back. I have bought more yarn at the same time when I bought this yarn, and then I have some Lion Brand's Fisherman's Wool, and then I bought another small sweater quantity of yarn from Michaels, just because I can afford Michaels. And I spent about $100 on the wool for this sweater, and so that was my big yarn expenditure for a little while. So I do have another thing of sock yarn. I fell in love with this sock yarn, which is also Malbrigo, and it is called Ultimate Sock Yarn. It is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is in the colorway 96 Sunset, and I love it. I am a sucker for oranges and yellows any time of year, and so I want to find the perfect pattern for these socks, and I think I want to knit like a honeycomb pattern. I want these to be honeycomb socks, so I will hold on to this until I find the perfect pattern, and then I will knit these up. Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so I wanted to touch on this too. I have been knitting for 16 years, but I have never been an adventurous knitter. What I mean by that is I've never really challenged myself in knitting because I have this lingering intrusive thought that I have dealt with for years and years and years, and I'll probably always deal with for years and years and years, that I'm not as intelligent as I wish I was and wish I were. I'm not as intelligent as I wish I were. I have always wanted to do beautiful textured sweaters and cardigans and color work. I really want to do a beautiful color work yoke. I have a couple patterns on not on Ravelry, but on Pinterest that go to Ravelry that I've saved, because someday I want to knit those sweaters. But I feel like I mean, I know as long as you know how to knit and purl, you can knit anything. I know that. I've taught people how to knit before. When we lived in Colorado Springs, I went to church and then I met a couple of ladies there. We all had kids about the same age, and then I taught them all how to knit. Then they would all come over to my house, or I would go to their house. We would always get together at least once a week, and we would have knitting play dates. And I taught them all how to knit, so I know how to knit. But I've just never felt like I was intelligent enough to knit something that really takes focus and concentration and brain power and skill. And that's something that I'm dealing with. I hope to move past that. And so I have several sweater patterns that I've saved on Pinterest that lead to Ravelry patterns that I want to sort of choose between. I want to knit one of them. And I don't know. Maybe some of you have some ideas for me. I mean, I know there's the ranunculus. That's a very popular pattern. All of Petite Knit's patterns are very popular, which I have come to know. Andrea Mowry's patterns are very popular. So I would love to do another knit along and experience a brand new kind of pattern and work, and I would love to do it with you. I would love for you to do it with me. So please, pretty please, if you could leave a comment down below of a sweater pattern that you would recommend for me, and then you would maybe like to see a knit along, I would be super grateful. I think that would really help narrow down my search. And I have the fisherman's wool coming, and I bought a sweater's worth of this yarn from Michaels, and it's just loops and threads. They're merino yarn. It's a 55% superwash merino, 45% acrylic, so it's nothing special. Definitely not the same quality of something you would go buy from like an indie dyer or a yarn store or something like that. But this was what my budget allowed. The longer I do these podcasts, which I hope to do regularly, the more you will see that I am not one of those knitters that you're going to be seeing pairing some really lush merino or alpaca with a strand of mohair or something like that. That's not me. That's not something I am ever going to do. I just do not have, I'm just not like that. I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think it's great for those knitters who do that, who have that dispensable income. Right now, I do not. Just as a side note, I no longer work at Anamoya. I left for personal reasons. I'm not going to talk badly about the shop or about the owner or anything like that. Just know that I've also removed the videos from my YouTube channel that featured Anamoya, or that I've removed Anamoya videos from my YouTube channel. If you are a subscriber or a watcher and you have ordered from there before, I thank you for that. And I wouldn't try to dissuade you from ordering from there again. If you like the shop, by all means, order from where you want to order, shop where you want to shop. But I am not there anymore, and I will not be going back. I have cut ties and said my goodbye. And that's all I will say on that. So my budget for all things hobby, which includes fountain pens and inks and journals and knitting, is now gone from this great budget to that budget. I don't know if I'm going to attempt to start working again, because I'm still homeschooling my girls, and while I was working at Anamoya, their homeschool suffered because I wasn't home with them. And so now that I'm home with them, I hope to get them caught up and just to spend that time at home with them, making my home again, and just being home where I feel like I need to be. So in the future, as I am doing these videos and doing more knits and stuff, you will probably see me using a lot of budget yarn and using up yarn in my stash, but I am very precious with the yarn in my stash because it's not a large stash by any means. Oh, there's a little gecko climbing up the screen. It's not a large stash by any means, and when it's exhausted, it's gone, and I can't replace those things at this time. So that is that. So as far as plans for, a lot of people have been doing videos and they're talking about their fall knitting plans. I plan to finish these socks. So I'm gonna do, I think, one more section. I don't like really tall socks. And I also don't like to continue sock patterns to over top of the foot because I feel like when I wear my knitted socks, it already makes my shoes a little bit tighter, and just the textured pattern on top of already being a little bit tighter in a sock just makes my shoes uncomfortable. So whenever I knit textured patterns in socks, I only knit the leg of the sock in the pattern. The rest of the pattern is just vanilla. I want to find a really good honeycomb, beautiful honeycomb pattern for this sock yarn. So that's a plan. And I would like to knit myself another Sophie scarf in a more flattering color. The first Sophie scarf I ever knit was a longer one, and this came from my stash. Oh, and I meant to grab, because I had two of these skeins, and I meant to grab one so I could show you, and I forgot. So this is a merino, a really pretty purpley eggplant merino, and I knit the larger size. And so this was my first introduction to the Sophie scarf. I enjoyed knitting it, and it looks really nice. So I pull it around this way, just like that, and you can wear it, you know, draped like that, or, you know, do a little tuck there, the way she does it, like on all of her great pictures. So I like it. I will wear it this winter. Like, I will give my garter stitch cowl a break, so I'll wear this winter. I want to, and then I have the two that I knit for the videos. I knit another one of these longer ones, not quite as long as this one, but a longer one, and this is in a bamboo yarn. I like the yarn. It was fun to knit with and work with. It was a little bit of a larger gauge for what the Sophie scarf called for, so it's a little bit thicker. But I'm not a fan of the color on me. I feel like it washes me out. But this is what I had on me at the time. I actually thrifted this yarn when we were living in South Carolina for a little while. It was just I think it's Lion Brand Co bamboo, and it was in a Ziploc bag at the thrift store, and it was 50 cents. So I said, okay. And so that's what I knit the Sophie scarf out of. And then this is the smaller Sophie scarf. And I really like the smaller version as well. Again, like I said, it's a little bit of a larger gauge than what the pattern calls for. So I can't really tie that, but I wanted to be able to wear it like around my neck and then do like the one tie kind of like off to the side like that. And I like it. It's just the color is not me, and it just washes me out. If I was more tan, I think it would be fine. But being that I'm pale, it just washes me out, I think. So I have another, I'm trying to avoid knitting anything green because I've already knit, I have a cardigan that I knit over last spring, summer, that's green. I have a vest, a thick chunky vest that I knit last spring as well, that's green. I have the Cumulus tee that I just knit, that is green. And many other things that I have knit that is green, that are green, because green is one of my favorite colors. But I feel like I have enough green, so I would like to move on from green for a while. I may knit another scarf up in this purple, but then again, I don't wear purple. I don't have anything that's purple in my closet. This is the only purple thing I have. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I just know that I want to knit another one in a color that I will enjoy more and in the proper weight of yarn. So like a fingering weight yarn. And I want to make it a little bit shorter than the short one that you just saw, because I just want to do the little tie, and I want it to be something that I can wear through fall, spring, and like just like a springy fall scarf, not necessarily for winter. So I want to knit that. I don't know if I have something in my stash that will suffice for that. I don't know. I'll have to go in there and look again. Shouldn't take me long because there's not much. And then another fall plan I have is I want you guys to help me find a pattern to knit in this loops and threads merino acrylic. I think this is a really pretty color. It's very autumnal, and I think it will look nice on me when I'm through. I just need to find the right pattern for it, and it is a light, it's a number 3 size light, so I'm guessing that's like a DK. I think that's a DK. It uses a number 5 needle. So if you have any suggestions, this is in the colorway, by the way, WM-03. That's what it's called. If you have any suggestions for me, please leave them. Please feel free to leave them below, and I will probably make a decision based on your suggestions. I also would like to knit something up with the fisherman's wool that I have. I ordered the brown, the deeper brown fisherman's wool, so it's a deeper brown than this flax. I wish I had ordered oatmeal instead, but hindsight is 20/20. So that really is all I wanted to share with you today. If you stuck around to the end, I thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed my little knitting ramble. And if you did enjoy this and you would like for me to do this again, maybe I can do like one every 2 weeks or something like that. Some knitters do them every week or twice a week, and they show you all their new acquisitions and all this stuff. And I am not going to be that person, because I likely will not have so many acquisitions to show you. But I will show you what I'm knitting on and what my plans are for knitting. I would really love to do some more knit along videos. I had so much fun doing those other videos. And so if you have a petite knit pattern that you're longing to knit and you would like us to knit together, that would be great. If you have a pattern from any other maker out there, basically my plan is to tally all the suggestions, and whoever suggests, tally all the suggestions and then choose from whatever pattern has the most suggestions. That would be what my plan is to do. So please help me. I don't know what to knit. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you happy knitting and awesomeness and greatness, and you are amazing, and thank you for supporting my channel. There's a trash truck coming through right now. Well, I guess we will wait until that goes by. very low.